Today I'm going to show you how I decorated this golf cake. Come join me. So this cake is a 2-layer confetti cake with a chocolate Oreo icing. So before I was ready to decorate the cake, I had to create some of the fondant pieces that went with it. So I'm putting two kind of banners or signs on the side of the cake, and one is going to say Thir Tea, as in a golf tee, and one is going to have a happy birthday message. So I made the signs for the banners, and also there I was just making the little golf ball that will go on top of the cake. So this is also part of that banner. So it'll be a white sign with a green backing. Here I am getting ready to add that white sign to the green backing. And then I'll set those aside for a bit. I'll come back to those in a minute. I'm going to be adding a golf pole or a sign for one of the holes. And so here I am making that golf flag. So I was painting the pole silver, and I'm making the flag itself red. And that's going to have a 30 on it because the birthday person is turning 30. So here I am just adding the number 30 to that. And I'm going to add it to both sides of this flag, so you can see it from both sides of the cake. And then these will both sit aside for some time to dry. Here I am making the letters. I opted to make just kind of like rope letters for both the sign and also the flag, just because I thought that would be an interesting design for this cake. So here I am making the 30 sign for the one side of the cake. Right now I'm only making the letters. I'm not actually securing them to the sign just yet. I'll do that momentarily. And now I'm beginning to actually adhere them to the sign. I'm just using a little bit of water to secure them to the sign. And I just finished that one, and now on the other side I'm doing a happy birthday message for the individual this is for. So I'm creating the letters. We're using an extruder here to also make some of the rope letters. And now that's just about done. So now I'm making the Oreo icing. So I have my icing already made. I'm adding some Oreo to that for the filling. Just mixing that up, and now I'm preparing to actually begin putting the cake together. So I'm putting some buttercream onto the cake board to secure the cake to the board so it doesn't move as I'm decorating, and I'm going to begin stacking the cake. So I'm first going to put my initial buttercream icing onto the cake, and I'm going to build a bit of a dam around the edge of this cake so I can put the filling, the Oreo filling on this cake. Now I do like to have extra Oreo flavor, so a bit of crunch, so I add some on the bottom, and then add the filling, and then I'll add some more extra Oreo for some more crunch for the the customer. So I'm spreading that out nice and good up against that dam. And as I mentioned, I'm going to add some more Oreo to the top of this filling. And now I'll add my second cake, and then we'll continue covering this cake. Now that we have the crumb coat done, we're going to do the top coat. We're going to make sure that everything is nice, smooth, and crisp so that we have a smooth surface to work with. Now I do need to make sure that the icing is thick enough here so that I can do the design that is requested for the cake. This is a golf cake, and so they want on the side of this cake kind of those divots that are on a golf ball. So I'll just kind of be doing some indentations along the whole outside of this cake. So it does need to be thick enough that I can do an indentation without the cake showing through. So I'm adding my icing and I'm squaring off the top of the cake so it's nice and crisp on top. I'm using a paper towel, just this the Viva paper towel that doesn't have a pattern, to help smooth out these edges. You'll see I'm using this ball tool. This is what I'm using to put those divots that I mentioned. And I did these going straight down in a row around the whole cake. And then I'm going to go back around again and kind of go in between so that they're kind of staggered in a center row between each one of the rows that I just did. So my cake was chilled, so that as I'm pushing into this, I'm pushing kind of hard. And then once the cake started to get a little bit less frozen, I would put it back into the freezer to get frozen again, and then that way I could redo it again just to make sure that these were nice and clean divots in this cake. So now I'm adding some golf green of fondant on top. This is going to be a sand pit. This is actually sugar cookie dust that I'm adding to the top that is the sand. And I'm just kind of trying to keep that contained into one spot. So now I'm going to use a grass tip and I'm going to kind of go around that sand pit to keep it contained so it doesn't get all over my cake and into the icing. I'm also going to go through and I'm going to create another space to keep that golf green open and cleaned up. And now I'm just going to finish covering the top of this cake with the grass. And I'm also going to do around the bottom of the cake, around the border. Now I'm leaving one little spot open here so I know where the front of my cake is going to be. You'll see that here in a second. But I will fill that in once I get my signs onto the cake. I have a little piece of paper towel where the front of my cake is currently. And so I'll then be able to move that because I know where the front of my cake is going to be. I did that just based on where I thought that it looked the best on the cake. So now I'm adding the first of the two signs. So I put a bit of buttercream onto the back of that, and I'm just pushing that down. Now I'm using a brush to make sure that I don't get any of that buttercream coming through onto the white icing. And I'm just pushing that down onto the cake. Also using a bit of Crisco to clean up any excess powdered sugar that was on the fondant. And I'm doing the same for the second sign. I'm adding that onto the back of the cake. Just add buttercream and securing that to the cake. Cleaning up any buttercream that might be peeking through, and using some Crisco to clean up the fondant to make sure there's no excess powdered sugar on the fondant. Now I'm making a little hole for the hole where the golf ball would go in, using a piping tip to do that. Then I'm going to put my flag in, and with that our cake is pretty much done. And so this is what the cake looks like. If you enjoyed watching this video, I encourage you to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss any future content. And here are some different angles of what the cake looked like, and thank you so much for joining us. I really hope you enjoyed this content. Come again.